Hey, welcome to another episode of Financial Theory. Today we're going to be doing something a bit different. We're going to be taking a bit of a deep dive into how a genius thinks, and it's only fitting to do the very first episode on one of my personal heroes, a person that I really admire a lot, and that is Elon Musk. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how Elon thinks, his formula for success, and how he's become the incredible juggernaut that he's become over the years. We're just going to uncover today what it is that makes Elon Musk so special. So in order to think like Elon Musk, you just have to understand that he doesn't just think harder. He just thinks differently. Where most people see a problem, Elon sees solutions, many solutions. In his head, there's just a million ideas just bouncing all around in his head. And he just says like he can't turn it off. It's almost like a superpower, like when Jean Grey from the X-Men found out that she had psychic abilities and it drove her to near madness. I think that's what Elon is describing there. So the first step of this breakdown of how Elon Musk thinks, the first thing he uses is something called first principles, which is a famous thinking technique that was famously used by Aristotle. So this technique has been around for a long time. Other people like Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, and a lot of people who are trying to innovate use first principles to actually come up with their ideas. So there's two ways of thinking. There's one way is to go by analogy, which is basically this is how it's always been, this is how we've always done things, and this is how it always will be. So instead of reasoning by analogy, which is this is how it's always been done, Elon breaks things down to its core fundamental truths, and then he builds it up from there. So first principles is essentially just breaking down a problem down to its core fundamental truths. Once you've got the fundamentals, the core truths, what you know is true, you can actually build up from there. And that's how Elon Musk thinks, using first principles. So for example, back in the day, everyone thought that rockets were just too expensive. Everyone said to Elon, that's just the way it is. That's just how expensive rockets are to make. Instead of accepting this, Elon thought to himself, okay, so what are rockets made out of? Aluminium, titanium, copper, carbon fiber. So Elon worked out that the raw materials for the rockets cost less than 2% of the final price. And he said, okay, so the raw materials aren't that expensive. It's just the middlemen that were jacking up the prices that made the rockets so expensive. So how Elon got around this problem was he said, okay, well, what happens if we just build the rockets in-house and then we cut out the middlemen? So that would drastically reduce the cost of making the rockets, right? And also Elon went one step further and he said, okay, what happens if we make the rockets reusable? That would save even more money. So this is the type of thinking that we're talking about, a person that thinks outside of the box. So this is how you apply first principles. What are the fundamental truths? What assumptions am I blindly accepting? If I was starting from scratch, how would I build this? These are the sort of questions that you'd be asking yourself if you were using first principles. So first principles is essentially taking a complex problem and then breaking it down to its core fundamental facts, things that you know are 100% true. And then you can use that reasoning to build things up from there, from the ground upwards. And then Elon rebuilds solutions from the ground up. He innovates and he reduces costs and increases efficiency. This is his style. And this is part of his success that he's implemented in Tesla and also SpaceX. So he solved the same problem with the Tesla batteries. Everyone said back in the day that batteries are just way too expensive. You'll never be able to make EVs work. But Elon said, okay, so what are the batteries made out of? Nickel, cobalt, aluminium. And then he realized the same issue. The raw materials weren't really the problem. It's just the manufacturing, the middlemen that were charging high prices. So he said, okay, what about if we do everything ourselves in Tesla and have control of our own supply chain? That would drastically reduce down the cost of making these batteries. And that's exactly what happened. Tesla produced and manufactured their own batteries, and that saved a lot of the cost by cutting out the middlemen. All right, step number 2 in how Elon Musk thinks. He thinks in probabilities and not opinions. Elon is always thinking to himself, what are the odds of this working? And what can I do to increase the odds of it working? And what variables need to change to increase the odds of me succeeding? So Elon Musk uses an engineering style style way of thinking, and there's a 5-step method to this. So most people would say to themselves, this is not going to work. What Elon says is, what do I need to do to make this work? So here's Elon Musk's engineering style thinking method. Step number 1, question every requirement. You have to assume that all requirements are wrong or flawed in some way, regardless of who gave them. He said that even Einstein was wrong from time to time. So you can't assume that something is true just because a smart person said so. Question every requirement, assign a person to it, challenge its necessity. If a requirement cannot be justified, remove it. Step number 2 is to delete parts or processes that you feel are not necessary. You should be deleting as much as you can because it's a lot easier to add that part back in than to delete them. So you gotta be deleting parts that you feel are unnecessary. Delete very aggressively, and later on, if you feel like you do actually need that part, you can always add it back in. By deleting aggressively, you save on costs, you save on a lot of money, and you drastically improve efficiency. He also said that if you're not adding parts back in at least 10% of the time, you're not deleting enough. Step 3 is to simplify and optimize. But you only do this after the first 2 steps, and then you refine the remaining design. Now, Elon also mentioned a very common mistake made by engineers is that they spend a lot of time optimizing a part that shouldn't be there in the first place. So that's another thing you got to consider. Step number 4 is then to accelerate the remaining necessary processes to improve efficiency. So you have to identify bottlenecks and increase the speed of production. Once again, you don't want to be speeding up something that shouldn't be there in the first place. A bottleneck in business is a point of congestion where it slows down the entire manufacturing process. One machine is slow in the assembly line, and that actually slows down the entire process because you can't increase your efficiency if one machine's holding up your entire manufacturing process. So that's called a bottleneck. And you have to fix those sort of issues to increase efficiency. So for example, a bottleneck with AI would be energy and infrastructure, because AI consumes an insane amount of energy and we're kind of limited to how much energy we can make. So how much AI is used comes down to how much energy we can actually produce, because at the moment, there's actually not enough energy to feed the AI. So that's another example of a bottleneck problem. So step number 5 is to automate. You want to be finalizing the process by automating the already optimized steps. So you should automate steps 1 to 4. Also try to avoid automating things that shouldn't be there in the first place. The other thing is to remove bureaucracy. To remove bureaucracy is to remove unnecessary rules, the many layers of approval, the many meetings. All of these things slow down the innovation process, which Elon absolutely hates. Elon sees speed and efficiency as a competitive advantage, and bureaucracy decreases that advantage. All right, the third step to how Elon Musk thinks, he obsesses over leverage. Why? Because leverage gives you 10, 100x returns on the same process. You're putting in the same amount of effort, but you're getting so much more returns. And that's why Elon obsesses over leverage. See, the thing is, Elon Musk doesn't chase money. He chases industries, infrastructure, systems. He's just a level above everyone else. So Elon targets high impact systems. So for most people, they're just building something small. With Elon Musk, he's building something to disrupt an entire market. So essentially, he's looking for a way to have minimum input and maximum output. And that's what leverage is. So for example, the engineering leverage. Most people build the machine. Elon builds the machine that builds the machine. So most people would only be selling a car. Elon builds the factories, the infrastructure that makes cars. So this is how big this guy thinks. He's just one step ahead. So according to Elon, he sees the factory as being a higher leverage play rather than just focusing on the small product, the car. He also maximizes financial leverage. So a lot of Elon's net worth is tied into stocks with Tesla and SpaceX. So if he needs to borrow money, he borrows from the bank against his stocks through margin. And that was how he bought Twitter as well back in the day, by using leverage. He also uses uses political and social leverage as well. So a lot of people said that Elon made a terrible mistake by buying Twitter. I actually disagree, even though the value of Twitter has significantly dropped since Elon has bought the platform. But here's the thing, right? So I think by owning Twitter, owning the platform where so many powerful people, presidents, Congress people, rich, powerful people are all on Twitter, and by owning the platform, Elon gets more of a say, more of an input to what these people say and do on there. And for him, that's just he's gaining more power essentially. And when you have more influence on key political figures, this actually allows you to influence the policies they make. And of course, the policies politicians make have a big impact on his companies, obviously. So, and by having more influence on the people making these policies, the people running the show, Elon has more say in what actually gets passed through. Because at the end of the day, whatever policies that these politicians come up with, they have a big impact on Elon's business. So I think that's a very smart move to actually own Twitter, to actually have more influence on these powerful key figures, these political figures. And then he sort of like can have more influence and control over these people. And then they can actually help make his business even more successful. It's all about connections, man. And there's also operational leverage as well. So Elon's philosophy is he believes a small, elite, top tier, talented team can beat a larger mediocre team. So Elon believes that 10 super talented workers can outperform 100 mediocre workers. Step number 4 to thinking like Elon Musk. Elon is an extreme long-term thinker. While most people are thinking, how do I make money this month? Elon is thinking, will this business I'm creating matter in 2035, 2040? That's how far this man is thinking ahead of time. When you are a long-term thinker, it allows you to endure short-term pain. You're able to endure public criticism and to endure temporary losses. Elon Musk's master plan is to unfold over a long period of decades. This is not a person that thinks short-term. He only thinks long-term. So the way he links his companies, it's like having a master plan of a master plan. So for example, he's linking Tesla cars to the Starlink satellite network through SpaceX, and he's integrating all of these with energy storage solutions. So step number 5 to thinking like Elon Musk, he's able to endure a lot of pain. Elon Musk has a high pain tolerance. Most people quit at discomfort. Elon Musk sleeps on the floor of his own factories. He puts all his money into his companies to prevent them from dying. Could have gone bankrupt a number of times. He risked bankruptcy many times. So thinking like Elon Musk requires emotional stability under pressure, the ability to detach yourself from fear. And Elon has actually said that he believes that having a high pain tolerance is a vital quality in an entrepreneur if they are going to become successful. It's going to test you along the way, and if you're too easily scared, you're going to pull out and you're going to lose all your money. But Elon was all in. When Tesla and SpaceX were both on the verge of dying, Elon put the $40 million that he had left in his account and split it between the two companies because he couldn't just see them die. He couldn't just stand there and watch his two companies die. He said that they were his children. He couldn't decide to actually put all the money into one company or the other, and he just decided he couldn't do it. He had to try to save both of them, and thank goodness for him, he did succeed, and both Tesla and SpaceX did survive, and not only survived, they're thriving. Well, SpaceX is doing really well now. Tesla at the moment, not so much because of BYD, but within the next 10 years, maybe they'll bounce back with the Optimus robots and the self-driving cars. So Tesla at the moment, they're kind of like in between like a transition period, going from an auto company transitioning to a robotics and tech company. So at the moment, Tesla's financials look pretty terrible, but maybe within the next 5-10 years, when they transition to a robotics, that's when I think things are going to turn around for Tesla big time. So in 2017, 2018 was one of the toughest times for Elon Musk. He said that was one of the toughest periods, and he was sleeping on the floor of his office to show them that he was there with them. He wasn't just on a tropical island somewhere drinking margaritas. So he said that was really important, just to lift up the spirits of the workers and for them to see that their leader was with them along the ride and not just yelling out for them to do things and then being off somewhere drinking margaritas on the tropical island somewhere. So step number 6 to thinking like Elon Musk, Elon has the highest standards when it comes to hiring staff and employees. Elon expects excellence from himself and the people surrounding him, so he only hires the top-notch talent. Elon likes to look for evidence of exceptional ability rather than just basing an interview on degrees or resumes. So Elon Musk requires candidates, he needs them to prove their skills through challenges. So he prioritizes a hardcore work ethic. He wants you to show problem-solving prowess, a good attitude, and a good heart over traditional credentials. Sometimes Elon would say, I don't even need you to put in a resume. So just give me 2 or 3 problems that you have solved with your critical thinking skills. And a lot of times that's what he will base the interview on. Give me examples of something that you've done that shows me that you're able to think critically, to think outside the box, and to be creative with your thinking. That's what more interests me than having an impressive resume. And he'll also ask things like, tell me the story of your life, the decisions that you made, and why. So he gets to know you as a person and why you've made the decisions that you've made throughout your life. And beyond technical ability, Elon really likes to focus on character as well. He likes people who are loyal, people who are kind, and have a good heart as well. He values those things as well, not just technical ability. Right, step number 7 to thinking like Elon Musk, relentless learning. So another thing about Elon Musk is he reads a lot and across a lot of disciplines: physics, engineering, AI, manufacturing. He reads on a lot of different topics, and it kind of makes him like a generalized specialist in a way. He knows so much about a lot of different things. There was an interview with one of the rocket scientists that Elon hired to teach him more about rocket science, and he actually said that he was so impressed by what Elon said, because when they had a conversation, he said it's like Elon was able to memorize everything that he had read, and he was able to keep up a conversation with an expert in rocket science, which is kind of crazy. That's how impressive Elon Musk is. He does extensive reading, and his mind is able to absorb information a lot better than most other people. As a child, Elon read 10 hours a day across a lot of different topics, from science fiction to engineering to philosophy to AI. And he also contextualizes knowledge as a thematic tree. So his principle is that you need to have the core understanding first, the tree trunk, before diving into the finer details, which he calls the leaves. And Elon likes to learn by hiring experts in the field that he wants to learn in. This actually drastically increases his learning ability, because he's actually hiring someone who actually spent their whole lives specializing into this one topic. So by hiring these sort of people, you increase your learning efficiency rather than having to learn it yourself and take 10 times as long. By hiring experts to explain things quicker to you, it increases the efficiency of his learning. So the next step is active application. Elon doesn't just learn just for the sake of learning. He learns to solve his problems. After learning something new, he would then apply it straight away to his businesses to improve efficiency, to speed up the process of manufacturing, to construct something new, to find a more efficient way of doing something. So Elon's philosophy is read, imitate, improve. And also the next thing is that he uses something called cross-pollination. So he applies techniques that he learned from one industry and then applies it into another industry. For example, applying aerospace material science to automotive engineering. So Elon views disciplines as not individual silos, but he sees everything as interconnected. So for example, using AI knowledge in the automotive industry, for example. And the other thing about Elon is he's actively seeking negative feedback. So Elon likes to reach out to experts in the field that he's interested in, and then he'll seek their feedback. He'll ask them what they liked, what they didn't like about his product or his idea. And then that's how Elon learns and improves his concept, his ideas, and his products. So his goal is not to be right, but it's to be less wrong. He has a willingness to improve always. So the other thing is Elon works with intense focus and incredible time management. He manages his time in 5-minute chunks and works 80 to 100 hours a week. So his theory is that if I can outwork my competition, I can get more done than them. So it's pretty simple, but that's just the way he sees it. So he views hard work as being a core element in his success. Okay, step number 8 to thinking like Elon Musk. He sees the mission as the number one goal and he puts his ego aside. The main mission is to get to Mars. The main mission is to create robots and to improve humanity. That's his vision. He puts his ego aside. So he doesn't always have to be right. It just has to be less wrong. So his core drivers are building a multi-planetary civilization, sustainable energy, AI alignment. Whether or not you agree with him, he operates on a mission-based level and not just about profit. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and to get more of an insight into the genius mind of Elon Musk, how he thinks, how he operates, and why he's become so successful. I hope you can get something out of this. So for me, that's how I learn, is to look at other successful people, and if I can implement something they've done into my own life, then I can actually use to improve. That's how I get better, you know? All right, if you like this video, give this video a thumbs up, like, comment, share, all that sort of stuff. I'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya.